All right, thank you very much, Matt. Well rehearsed, that's a good presentation. One thing I used to clap for, Dropbox.com, don't know if you heard it, saw Nail doing it earlier. Free cloud, stuff just out there all the time. Next speaker, Ian Thompson, talking about the current and future potential of community gardens.
All right, so a little bit about me. I've been gardening since I was, well, for 20 or so years now. For a good 15 of that, I had no property of my own to garden, so I was an avid community garden, and I've been in several community gardens which have stretched from, very organized kind of structured community gardens where you have your little spot of land to some dude's backyard on Oregon Street where 3 or 4 of us shared a garden plot and grew what we wanted over the summer. And before I moved out here from California, I was sort of contracted out by, you've heard of Women, Infants, and Children. They wanted to start a community garden in Pomona, California, which is, if you're not familiar with Southern California, pretty sucky area. And it was basically starting from the ground up. I mean, they had nothing except this, we want to start a community garden for our WIC clients so they can access, grow, and consume fresh, healthy vegetables. Because if you know anything about WIC, it's a nutritional kind of based program. And so we basically went from having nothing but a little bit of money to pay someone like myself to make a community garden. Go out, find the property, contact the landholders, contact the city, see what they could do with us, contact various businesses that would help us sort of facilitate starting a community garden. And it was a really interesting process because in that time I learned that if you just go up and start asking people and honestly state what your purpose is and what it is that you're doing, and you have an admirable goal, that people will just help you like that. And this was before really people were using the internet for anything but, email and porn, I think. And, so there was no social networking sites or anything like that you could really use. And I was really, really sort of floored. I just straight walked into Pomona City Hall and talked to one of the city engineers. We're starting a community garden. We don't have funds to install water. We need water. Will the city do this? Hey, yeah, that's a real good idea. We'll do it. And they did it. But they told me you have to get a backflow prevention device, to keep the water on your side of the garden so it doesn't get into the city water. And so I found a local irrigation supply company. The first one that I went to, I just walked in, I said, hey, we're a community garden, the city's installing our water, we need a backflow prevention device. We're WIC, non-profit governmental kind of organization, so you can get a tax break if you give us a donation. He handed me over the counter a backflow prevention device. I took it to the city. They said, oh, no, you need a much more expensive kind just because of some of the engineering situations associated with the land that we managed to acquire. Took that backflow prevention device back to the company. I said, hey, I'm sorry, we can't use this. He handed over the counter the more expensive model that we needed, and we were off and going. And as far as I know from Google Maps and talking to the pastor of the church's land who they donated the community garden, it's still a functioning garden, and it's 15 years now. The interesting thing that we were able to do this time around that struck me, having done it back in California before there's a lot of social networking sites, is you and I don't even have like a formal website up, just a Facebook fan page. But you get 100 people on your fan page, and you tell them that you need something, and each one of those people knows 10 more people. So it's kind of like this exponential growth of information dissemination. I need tillage, or I need some irrigation equipment, or I need some lumber. And chances are someone knows a brother or an uncle or somebody that can help you and can do so for free. In the case of this community garden, the only funds that we're taking in is a $20 a year fee to cover water and equipment rental. And we're up and going. Almost all the plots have been rented out for the year. We're right next to the Fulton Place apartments, so my hope is to pull some more of the people out of their apartment buildings and get them growing things. And the thing with community gardens is that it's been shown again and again wherever they go in, and if you're talking about like the deepest inner city areas of Detroit, New York, that it creates a base of citizens with at least some kind of vested interest that lie outside of their little apartment where they live, or their little house where they live, someplace where it makes them want to stay and be involved. They meet people that have different interests and some of the same interests, and they start building this network of people that, through the shared interest of gardening, or the new interest of gardening, sort of blooms in this sort of self-perpetuating, self-educating group of people that then can come sort of disseminate out and do further things. So outside the North 10th Street garden, which we have going on now, there's been a lot of talk about starting a central sort of non-profit organization that would perpetuate the formation of other community gardens in the Greater Lafayette area. There's a couple models we can follow, like St. Louis has the Gateway Greening organization, which is also a nonprofit. And basically what it seems to be is sort of a centralized brain trust, or sort of connection trust, a group of people that already have who you need to call in the city if you want to get water connections, or who you should contact if at the end of the growing season they need to offload a bunch of plants from the greenhouse that they're not going to sell, and they'll willingly donate. So that people that want to start community gardens, people that have the same sort of ideas, don't have to kind of reinvent, relook up, and make connections that already exist. Another thing that sort of this nonprofit agency, or this group, can sort of provide would be sort of an umbrella insurance coverage, because I know that that's, if people are looking forward, they know that they should probably have some kind of insurance coverage. And if that person goes to an insurance company or asks somebody, oh, well, you need to have $1 million insurance coverage, they don't even, that stops them right there. They don't necessarily even know what the yearly payout is for that insurance coverage, but they're like $1 million, can't do it, don't want to deal with it. So a nonprofit group like that could provide an umbrella insurance coverage for all the sort of community gardens that want to sprout up around the area. Provide a tool bank for the more expensive, tillers and things like this, so that every community garden isn't feeling like they have like this high goal to get over to begin. They can sort of rely on this sort of central organization to help them seed that community garden. So that's where I'm coming from.